The following episode of the Carnival of Randomness is sponsored by an important message to you, the people, from Upsitnik & Associates. Every day there are forces that are taking from you, stealing from you. Your money, your time, your freedom. Immense faceless corporations, banks, credit card companies, insurance providers, government agencies, this list goes on and on. When you are under attack and facing crisis, turn to us, Upsitnik & Associates, attorneys for you, the people. When every day becomes a battle, we can advise and assist. We have been advocates for 40 years. Email us through upsitnikslaw.com or call us at 1-866-391-3299 or reach out to us through Upsitnik & Associates on Facebook for a prompt, no obligation communication and consultation. Don't be pushed around.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Dandy Mini Mart in Ithaca, New York, as we gird our loins for battle against the fabled Dandy Lion. And yes, that hurt my soul a little to say, but hey, we're back! And from that introduction, you can tell we came in with no plan at all, so what do we got?
We're sitting and lingering because there's such a huge line here. We can't really go in there.
That's the thing, and I mean, any station with a man with a mustache and the arm garters as your logo.
I saved the bag.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, from when I went there last time.
And that's the thing. We've said some things about places that either aren't here anymore and never were, but this place is legitimately a real thing.
Yeah.
We've been there many a time.
And one thing we saw out here, there was a big wrestling card in Elmira, and I think we had some names like Tito Santana was on it.
Yeah.
And we actually saw Tito's car.
We did, because Tito came to the Collector Fest.
Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, shout out to guys at the Rochester Collector Fest. And the only thing is, because we knew that Tito was driving because he was on the phone.
He's from Jersey.
Yeah, he lives in New Jersey, so we walked around, and as we were leaving, it's like there was one car in the parking lot with a New Jersey license plate, so
He must have just drove in.
yeah, he just drove
if
in.
you see him, rag on him, because I did find out later on he's a huge Yankees fan. Which is weird because he's from Texas.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's from Texas, played football in British Columbia.
Yeah. But I was thinking a little bit about wrestling here, and one of the things we've talked about wrestling on and on, but one of the couple things we've not talked about, if you could have any era, your dream matchups, if you have a couple, I know I
have a couple, and now we're to lay the baseline for anybody that would eventually like to jump in with suggestions. This is person in their prime, regardless of era, versus another person in their prime, regardless of their era.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Well, lead us off. Who do you have? Let's see how many we
I have
cross
one
over.
of the ones I think would be perfect would be Shawn Michaels HBK against Ricky Steamboat.
That would be a good one.
Could you imagine the athleticism?
But which Shawn Michaels?
It would be probably the arrogant bastard one.
Pre-God?
The
Shawn
DX,
Michaels?
The DX Shawn Michaels, the arrogant, because the one thing Shawn said, he admitted, I was a jerk. Everybody hated me, but he always said, and nobody argued, he gave his 100% in the ring.
Absolutely.
And it would work a lot better, him being the pompous guy you just want to see beaten up versus Ricky the Dragon, who could not be a heel.
I don't think he ever was a heel.
No, they said he was one of the one guys who could never be a heel, because who would believe it?
Yeah. I'd like that, because it's, and
two guys who are masters of athletics.
Yeah.
And you have the one guy like Shawn who's a lot better talker. He can carry that over, be the heel, getting all the hype.
Well,
and then people are going to cheer their heads up when Ricky beats the hell out of him at the end.
See, that would be a great match if they would have been born 20 years earlier. What happened? Like Flair.
Well, they might have. You never know. They might have done something when Ricky was like older, just a little. Because remember the match where Jericho did the thing with the 4 different guys?
Yeah.
It didn't Steamboat, he was in such good shape. Didn't they carry that one out with Jericho?
Yeah, they re-signed him. They brought him in as a one-night thing, and he actually was really good, so they signed him on for like a couple weeks. All right, let's see. See, I would go, like a grapple match, because I was born far too late to see the great, like Jack Briscoe, Dory Funk matches. Yeah. So that would have been something interesting. But I think one of them against, like, a really good modern-day wrestler.
Well, I know Backlund and Briscoe had a program back
Yeah,
in St.
well,
Louis. And Backlund said the problem with this, and this comes from his book, was when you have two faces, what you have to do is sort of make one in the match sort of a little bit of a heel, but you can't go overboard so they boo him, but then at the end they make up like somebody just...
Yeah.
But I guess they had a program.
Well, it was like the whole the Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino thing.
Yeah.
How did they make that work? But
well, they made it, they were tag team partners, they were blinded, but then they could just have like a little misunderstanding, but then they make up at the end. And maybe Bret Hart one of those, because he could really wrestle well.
I'm thinking like a Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle against your... Because you want it to be competitive.
Bruno? Danny Hodge?
Danny Hodge may have done it because he was not only a really...
back. You want to go back. How about Gangle against Vern Gagne?
Yeah. But, I mean, Danny Hodge, considering he was probably the best wrestler that ever wrestled.
Yeah.
And he understood the business, so he wouldn't... He knew that he could beat everybody, but he let them beat him because he knew it was a business.
Unless you goofed with them, probably. Then you didn't want to mess with him, like didn't Antonio Inoki try to take Bruno off?
Yeah, well, there are many schools of thought about Inoki, and not many of them are very good.
No.
Yeah, he converted to Islam.
Yeah.
Which is very strange, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's different.
Because I actually thought of it for the fact that he can't wrestle, but he was a big draw with Hogan. Did you know almost WrestleMania 2 was almost Nikita Koloff versus Hulk Hogan?
Oh, the WWF would have sunk.
You know, that's the time Koloff was really hot. Think about the era. Think about the era of the evil Russian.
Right, but at the same time, it wouldn't have drawn as much. There would.
Well, that
would
was
have been
Bundy. That was the one against Bundy.
Well, true.
Because what they were going to do, I guess, Koloff was really hot in WCW, NWA, and they were going to start trying to sign him, and what they told him, they promised him WrestleMania. But at the time, NWA and WWF were about the same on par, so you were making good money in either. So he figured I'd hold out for a year. But what happened then was the Andre thing.
Yeah.
So then all they could offer him was an Intercontinental run. So he said, the heck with that, I'll just stay in.
Well, and the problem I have with it is, because Hogan is a much bigger man than Koloff was, it wouldn't have worked. Because with Bundy, you had the giant, a giant man who could easily have just, and he looked like the monster. No offense, may he rest in peace.
Oh, yes. 5.
But, it wouldn't have worked with a guy on his size or smaller like Nikita Koloff. It had to have been some big...
That's why I wonder about
monster.
Bruiser Brody against him, too.
Oh, Brody would have destroyed him.
Yeah. Because there were rumors about him later on, but then he got killed about him maybe coming in. Because I thought the other one, too, in terms of athletics and whatever, this is not personal in terms of what they've done, would be Snuka against the Macho Man.
Yeah. But we all know Snuka. He's found his peace in some manner or fashion, but... I'm not going to get into it, but his history speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And that's all we will say.
Yeah, it's just
we did meet him. He was very pleasant. God, how long ago did we meet him? It was like...
Before this happened, he was sort of coherent.
Like
he said brother heck of a lot.
2014. I think it was very soon after that the CTE or the dementia kicked in.
Yeah.
But in any event, how about the Iron Sheik? Because everybody remembers, the club, the Persian clubs, and the mustache and the boots, but he was a very, very good wrestler.
And he actually came up. He was Cosgrove Assyria, his real name, and he came to Vern Gagne, and he wanted to do the evil gimmick.
Yeah, because he was bodyguard for the family of the Shah of Iran. Anybody that's seen the documentary probably know this. But he came to the United States. He was he on the Olympic? No, he was on the Iranian Olympic team.
Did he train the Americans?
He was on the Iranian Olympic team for the 68 Olympic Games. And then he worked with the U.S. Olympic team. I was confusing him with Adnan Al-Kaisi, who defected from Iraq.
But wrestled in front of Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, and coached at Oklahoma State. Yeah. But he was a very good wrestler.
And the thing about him is he loved America. He loves America.
Oh, yeah, he still loves America.
But I remember as a kid, though, I always loved the idea of the heel with, like, the nefarious gimmick that everybody knows, but the ref never gets. And the good old loaded boot, the pointed boot that he would just bang
that he would bang
with.
That he would bang to what sharpen the curl somehow.
Or there was something in, they would say there was like a piece of steel or something.
Yeah,
in
some
the boot,
lead shot that
and
he was
would
going
get it
down
up
to his
there.
toe.
And of course, everybody knew but the ref.
Yeah, amazing how that happened.
I mean, but that's the whole idea. Like the animal said, the animal used to tell the refs if they catch him with the object to disqualify him.
Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna blow the business.
But you
up.
think how perfect that was, how he would do it where all the fans know what he's doing.
Yeah, and this was back in the day before smartphones and the internet, so you didn't know who the hell these guys were.
No.
You couldn't have looked up, the Iron Sheik and see, he's Khosrow Vaziri from Tehran, Iran, really.
Well, you imagine, again, the animal where he was a teacher.
Yeah.
And students would not know he was in Michigan, and he would come and wrestle here during the summer, and he could do this, and at that time, nobody knew it was him because they didn't see the programs.
Right.
Every now and then he would say a student who used to get wrestling magazines would ask him, and all he'd say was, "You think I'm that ugly?"
Yeah, because when he came to New York and Pittsburgh, because that's really where he cut his teeth, they didn't allow masked wrestlers. And he was a masked wrestler when he wrestled around
And
Michigan.
we know this from who?
From him, when we met him.
Yes.
But he was one of those other ones, as he put it when we went and saw him at his book signing. The guys are bigger and stronger now, but we were a hell of a lot tougher.
And just shaking hands with them, or like,
oh God,
he gave me his hand to put like by his throat. Just
Yeah.
muscles, these guys. Any wrestler we've ever met, as you'll find out, if you see them in person up close, even if you think they're a small wrestler, how big they are.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, because on the TV, he looked like that tiny little man who was just a fly in your ear. But no, he was like 6 foot, 6'1"?
Yeah.
He's a bigger guy than I thought he was.
And Chris Jericho, too, who's actually pretty meaty and big. They're all pretty
I
big.
missed that one because I was sick. And the only reason I didn't go down was because he was touring with Fozzy.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to, obviously, give him the flu or whatever.
No, that would have been good. But
whatever plague I had.
What's amazing, though, is all of them, none of them are small, and they're all big guys, even the small guys.
That's the thing. Even the small guys are pretty goddamn
But
thick.
still, in terms of real life, I think almost everybody points to, in terms of the best angle ever, or the top 5, was the $1 million belt angle.
Oh, God. I remember catching that a little because I was growing up at that time. I just remember the vignette they did when he goes into the jewelry store and has a cloak on and just unfurls the cloak like a 1930s, robber baron in a movie. Like, I'm here to pick up the $1 million belt.
See if you can follow this, okay? Ted DiBiase came back playing a character called the $1 Million Man. And the perks of this character in real life were, because this was the era of kayfabe, they put him up in...
Yeah, he flew first class, 5-star hotels.
Because they said you can't see the $1 Million Man staying at the cheapy hotel.
When they would do the smaller towns, he would go into the gas station, buy a pack of gum, pay for it with a $100 bill, and then make a fuss about it.
And he was actually hesitant about having Virgil carry, and Virgil was actually named, it was a dig at Dusty Rhodes, Virgil Runnels.
Yeah, and isn't it weird when he went to
was
WCW,
Vincent.
he became Vincent?
But
a side note, follow his Twitter. He's hilarious.
But he didn't want to have him carry bags, but even Virgil, he got the characters. You think the $1 Million Man's going to carry his bags?
Yeah.
So what happened was he wanted to buy Hulk Hogan's belt. Hulk Hogan refused him.
So he paid Andre to get the belt. Andre won the belt
Now,
in dramatic fashion.
Can we follow this? See if you could stay with this. The pin was controversial because he violated
Because he got his shoulder up.
Then there was a fast count. So what happened was Earl Hebner was the referee. Literally, another Earl Hebner was out.
Yeah, came out because the $1 Million Man got some homeless guy and paid for him to have plastic surgery to look like the referee Earl Hebner.
In real life.
Turns out, in reality,
brother.
it was his twin brother, Dave.
Yeah.
But people bought it.
John Cena always says that was the angle.
Yeah, he said he was
just...
angry at the TV and the $1 Million Man for it.
So
after, obviously, the belt was... Andre had the belt for all of, 10 minutes.
And he's not recognized as champ, is he?
No, he is not. So he turned it over to the $1 Million Man, at which point the WWF took it and made the tournament for WrestleMania 4.
Which ended up with the Macho Man.
Which ended up with the Macho Man winning the belt. No, wait, Hogan won the belt.
No, it was the Macho Man. Because remember, it was Hogan and Andre got this.
Oh, that's right. He beat the $1 Million Man.
Against $1 Million Man.
That's right.
Because then the next year, Hogan took the belt back.
Yeah, after their tag team exploded.
Yeah. The Macho Man in real life was a little...
Nuts.
Yeah.
Great wrestler. One of the best.
But renowned, as he said, is a little
Intense.
too close to the character.
Intense as most
He
people
would have been. Can you imagine if he would have made it in baseball because he was a catcher?
Yeah, he was. He was in
The Cardinal was it?
the Cardinals or the Reds, one of those two.
I think it was Cardinals or Reds, but can you imagine he'd probably do the flying elbow to get home?
And that's another thing. A lot of people, forget that some of these guys had lives outside of wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Like who would be the really...
One a real interesting example, Johnny Roz, the jobber for He's a renowned jeweler.
Really?
And a lot of guys got him like superstar Billy Graham would show off a ring and say Johnny, well, still, but it was the era. But Johnny Roz, the jeweler, and he's like a jeweler.
Well, and then you had, the big cat Ernie Ladd back in the 70s down in Mid-South. He was a hell of a football player for the San Diego Chargers.
I still think he should get Hall of Fame consideration.
I think so, but probably because he played most of his career with the AFL.
Yeah, only Billy Shaw.
Only Billy Shaw. The only player in the Pro Football Hall of Fame
But
never played
that would be
down in the
another
NFL.
thing, too. In terms of sporting events, is there anything you just like to see maybe once, like a certain type of sport or a certain thing you've never seen before?
Like
live.
Live? Oh, God.
Yeah, because you can watch anything on TV.
Yes. I'd like to see curling. High-level Olympic curling. Or Olympic Games in general.
Yeah.
To see... Because I've watched, we watch the Olympics on TV. I've seen the U.S. National Championships on TV. I've been to Division III National Championship
Did you
track
know
meets.
they did them naked back in ancient Greece because they wanted to make sure they weren't space aliens?
That's a sad thing to call women.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, that is true. They competed in the nude to make sure that women didn't come in. Well, interestingly
No,
enough...
actually, ancient astronaut theories say they wanted to just make sure they were
Yeah,
actually
okay.
people.
Okay. Okay, thank you, History Channel. Remember when you actually did history? Because we don't. But no, interesting sidebar. What was it, the games in 2004? The games were in Athens?
I always forget.
It was 2004. The games were in... I'm going to roll with 2004. The shot put event. It was held at the ancient Olympic Stadium. It was the only event held there that year. And I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But the first woman, the female shot putter, who was the first throw in that Olympics, was the first woman in world history to ever compete in an athletic event in that stadium.
Oh, there's a question I thought of, and I honestly don't know the answer. Why did they stop the games originally? Because when they restarted, 1896?
They restarted the modern.
Why did they stop originally?
I actually don't know.
Because I don't know. Because I always, when you're a
because
kid,
it was the ancient Greek games, and I don't know.
maybe because of the things crumbled and everything.
I guess maybe the empires fell.
Because obviously they didn't bring in people from Persia or
no,
any of these other
back
places.
then it was only Greece, and I think only the one city-state. I don't think they brought in people from other parts of
Sparta
Greece.
or any of these other places. I tend to doubt it.
Guess what, people? Read your history. The Spartans weren't as good as the movies.
No, you hear them, but we'll never be slaves. Yeah, they had slaves.
Oh, they were disgusting. Disgusting.
I mean,
disgusting
Thermopylae, but
society.
actually Greece, really, you don't think about Athens. They saved everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like the last battle's the Battle of Marathon and everything. They're the ones in the sea battle, Salmachus. They're the ones who actually saved the civilization.
Yeah.
Thermopylae really happened.
Yeah, Thermopylae really happened,
And
but
it's
it wasn't.
It's a good story, though.
It's a great story, but in the end, the 300 Spartans were slaughtered without mercy.
Yeah.
There was no grandstand where we will die. Then we will die in the shade.
No, that's actually the thing about that guy.
He did
From what
say
I've
that,
read,
though.
he really did say that.
Yeah, right before an arrow hit him in the face.
Yeah, but he actually really did say that. I'll fight in the shade.
Yeah.
Plus, that is not freaking Darius there.
Yeah. It's
Well, they showed. Have you seen the horrible sequel to the movie?
No, I will
They
not watch
show
it.
this little guy with a beard going into a vat and turning into that guy.
yeah, that's another thing. Xerxes wasn't a 7-foot-tall, androgynous-looking man. He was a short, squat, ugly dude with a beard and a bad attitude.
of course, the armor they wore was all wrong. How they dressed and everything.
course.
But I was going to ask a question in terms of viewing the Olympics, or if you wanted to see something like that. Some events you see better on TV, some you see better live. Do you think, like, if you went to a stadium and saw that, would you really get the, or is it better just to watch the home vote?
I think it depends. I think depending on the event, it's like any other sport. Some sports are better when you're live. Like football, it's a little better when you're live because you can, especially if you're up high.
Yeah, you could see the
You
plays.
can see the plays developing.
And another one like that's hockey.
Yeah, baseball is kind of boring regardless of where you see it.
But still good to see a Muck Dogs game once a
yeah,
year.
but I mean, baseball, going to a game, there is something about it.
There is, and one of my friend Nick from Fox 45, he was on here, remember him, and if their new album ever comes out, it's like their Chinese Democracy, but Amanda's really busy and good for them. And and the thing about that, he says it's perfect. You go out there, it's a summer night, the grass.
Well, that's what it is. It invokes, and now what is it? Is it this season or next season? The Yankees are playing it's the Field of Dreams match. They're actually building a stadium in Iowa. I can't remember. Was it the Yankees and the Red Sox? I haven't seen that movie in forever.
They played in London.
Yeah.
So, all I remember about the movie...
But at some point, they're actually going to play in the cornfields of Iowa.
For real, Moonlight Graham, he was real. And he was a guy... Because remember, he comes on in the movie, then he's a doctor. He's got to leave, and they say you can't come back.
Yeah.
He literally, I think, had one plate appearance.
Yeah. I think so. Whoever wrote the movie did a good amount of baseball research.
And Cooperstown's an interesting town too because it's like what you would call your stereotype Americana. You go down there; it's a small town. There's flags all over.
I honestly,
they try to make it look like small town America.
I honestly can't say I've ever been to Cooperstown.
I took one trip to the Hall of Fame many years ago.
I've only been to one of the 4 big Hall of Fames, and that was the football one in Canton.
Yeah. I've been to the hockey one.
Yeah, the hockey one's in
golf one by you. There's a golf Hall of Fame, or it's in Augusta, maybe.
I think the World Golf Hall of Fame is in Augusta. The hockey one's in Toronto.
We used to have the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame by us, but now it moved.
In Amsterdam, but now it's in Texas.
Yeah.
Baseball's in Cooperstown. Basketball's in Springfield, Massachusetts.
How about going to see a CFL game?
I'd love to see a CFL game.
Now, yes, it's football, but never seen Canadian football.
I think what really showed me how much better Canadian football can be than the NFL in some ways was, I think it was for the Grey Cup last year. It's because they don't play it in a dome stadium. They go to whoever stadium has the best record. In November, usually, is when the Grey Cup is played.
Which makes no sense to me, and I can't explain it, because I remember watching the Vikings-Eagles game. The Vikings were getting pasted, so I changed to watch the Grey Cup, and it was Toronto. Yeah. It was in Toronto, but this had to be in January. Because then last year, it was earlier. I can't figure that one out.
I think there was a delay with one of the seasons.
And all I remember was, because it was Saskatchewan, right? Well, it was one of those teams.
No, it was
Calgary.
It was Calgary versus
Toronto. But the thing about it, the weather was atrocious. And
that's what it is.
They had like an opening, and then they had Shania Twain.
No, that's what I was getting to. Is that the halftime show was Shania Twain. She comes out riding a dog sled because it's pouring snow there, and so you know what? Every player in the NFL would have been, it's too cold. We're not going to play here. Wham! We need a dome. No, you don't. Amen.
And did you know, I did not know this for the Blue-Gray College game. I discovered just recently by accident that they invite players from Canadian colleges.
Yeah, they've started.
And that would be a neat thing to look into, is like the Canadian college football, because you don't even hear about that.
Well, actually, here, I'm going to blank on his name, but he's one of the starting defensive linemen for the Bears. He started last year.
I have no idea. I think I can name Will Fuller on the defense. That's about it.
But, come on, Khalil Mack.
Oh, jeez.
But in any
event,
the
other linebacker dude.
No, but this guy's one of their defensive tackles. He played at the University
Roquan Smith.
Yeah, but he played at the University of Regina in Saskatchewan.
Which everybody's going to pronounce wrong, of course.
Well, yeah, because people are dumb. It's not Uranus, guys.
No.
It's still funny, but...
It's funny if you're juvenile like we are.
Yeah, but no, so yeah, you forget that, Canada does have college football, and you also forget that hockey is not their national sport.
No.
It's lacrosse.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is Canadian football has a very, very long tradition. They've been around a long time. Oh, God,
I think this past year was the 120-something Grey Cup.
Yeah.
It's been the Grey Cup's been in existence a hell of a lot longer than Lombardi Trophy.
And there's a lot of these teams have been around for a long time.
Yeah, the Argonauts have been around since the 20s.
Oh, yeah, Hamilton.
Calgary, I think, has had a team forever.
You get guys like Bud Grant used to coach Winnipeg.
Yeah. I mean, think about a lot of the great NFLers that played in the CFL, had a good career in the CFL. Doug Flutie, Warren Moon. Then we have the guy, he played in the NFL, didn't pan out, so he went back to the CFL. He just recently retired, a guy named Ricky Ray.
Who is amazing.
Who arguably will go down as probably in the top 3 best quarterbacks ever in the history of Canadian football.
But in terms of sports, too, because we're on this, and I don't know why, the guy with the bowler mustache for some reason reminds me of the Bully a little bit. So I'm thinking of obscure sports. Wrestlers may have participated in it a little. But one of mine that I would just be hooked on years ago, not as much now, but you watch, is The World's Strongest Man.
Love it. Love The World's Strongest Man.
The thing you'll find out about wrestlers, and when I was a kid, it's like, well, they're wrestlers, but not a lot of them do very well. Ken Patera, who was very, very legit.
Yeah, Ken Patera did fairly well. Billy Graham didn't. He did okay, but he never came back. Jerry Blackwell hurt himself.
No, what did
in
he
the
do?
first
Did
event.
he not come? Did he not do the whole event? Billy Graham.
No, he did all the events. It's just he didn't finish. I think
You
he
have to be
finished
top 4. Right?
Yeah, no, you got to be top 3 to get recognition. I think.
Well,
he
don't
finished
they have the tug? Because they
5th.
used to have the tug of war between the first. Because I remember Bruce. Because they had 1 versus 4.
They got rid of that pretty early.
Kolb just walloped Patera.
Yeah, John Kolb, an offensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was maybe 260 pounds on a good day, obliterated Bruce Wilhelm in the tug of war, and then because he beat Kolb again, I think it was Lars Hedlund, the giant Swede, in the tug of war. He was, I think, partially responsible for Bruce Wilhelm winning his second World's Strongest Man
But I always,
title.
you know why Putski stands out of being it? Ivan Putski did not do very well. He finished 8th.
Yeah.
But the weird part about it is I remember as a kid, and weird memories stick out. Literally, I was switching back on channels between that and watching the Broncos-Steelers playoff game.
What year was that?
That was like when the Orange Crush, 77.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the early World's Strongest Man.
Because I remember that year, and I didn't realize how injured the Steelers were that year.
Well, World's Strongest Man is just fun.
Now, out of all the events, what's the one you look in and go, I won't do any of this crap. But
I wouldn't do any of it.
But which one would be the worst?
Any of it. Well, anytime they have to pull something, like you see them pulling a plane.
Or the big, easy.
Well, the thing, once you get it moving,
the one
it's just breaking that initial inertia.
The one sticks at that's probably it. Once you get like a motion
Well, that's
going.
what it is. If you can get it moving, then it's just going to travel
There's a
on
lot
its own.
of it to technique.
All of it.
A lot of it, like you could be a really massive dude.
Well, because look at it. Because look at you look back at, I think it was 1978 or 79 when John Kolb was in there, and there was this one. They were in a seated position, and they were basically pulling on a rope that ran through a pulley and was attached to a washing machine. And you had to pull it up to the top. You know, he's up against guys 370 pounds, that could throw around cars if they wanted to. But he destroyed them because he had better technique. He had the right lean.
Let us forget, believe it or not, maybe the best center in the NFL ever, Mike Webster. A lot of people looked at him and said, well, this dude's too small. They didn't realize, number one, he was just absolutely a physical monster.
Like 250
and number
or so?
two, his technique was just absolutely... And to hear about his workouts, he would run the stadium steps every day.
Yeah.
But you met him, too. Didn't you say he was like...
I met him years ago, just very quiet guy with a cement-crushing handshake.
And at that time, he was still not all...
he was
I mean, that's the sad... I had the sad experience. It was a Hall of Fame game, and he was on there, and they had a thing about him, and Terry Bradshaw. Kids, who can forget Terry saying about, though, well, I always how many years sticking my hand on Mike Webster's butt. It's only Terry could say. But then seeing a guy like that, how he was just... And he's trying to talk.
I couldn't watch it. It was sad.
It was really bad and everything. But the other thing I'm thinking of, too... like this while we're waiting here is summer's coming to an end. This will be out around the end of summer, and a lot of people. But as a kid, it seems a lot different now than how it was now for kids. I know we never had play dates or anything.
No,
basically, it would be I'll see you at dinner.
Well, and another thing is years ago, staying inside was a punishment.
Yeah.
But now.
Well, now it would be stay inside. You can't play your games.
Right, but, like you can't play the Xbox. Well, I'll play on my phone. I'll play on my computer. I'll play on my tablet. No, ours was you're not going outside to ride your bike.
Yeah.
Or what we used to do was dig in the dirt with a stick.
Did you ever have, like, the cool bike you had to have, or was it whatever you had?
It was whatever I had. I actually think I had a Huffy.
What was your
Remember
first
Huffy?
one? Yeah.
It was like a black and, like a black frame with like the bright yellow Velcro pads that you put over the bars to make it look
I can
like
give
it
you
was...
my funniest one, but the first one, my first bike I ever got, my dad bought it for me. And it was it was purple.
Nice.
And it was neat. And a lot of people like dirt bikes around us.
There was a lot of people because growing up in Western Pennsylvania, I didn't realize until I left how rednecky it was.
Well, yeah, I think we were wannabes because one of our biggest things was to get our little dirt bikes and stuff, and that was everybody tried to save their money up to get a dirt bike. But then in terms of that one, I remember trashing it from wiping out so much.
Yeah, I never had a dirt bike. There was a couple people that had them. They were the same guys that had the Z28s in their front yards.
Oh, yeah, well, we had. The other thing we had...
With the bent antennas and
I guarantee...
the 8-ball on top.
You ever notice, I always say one of the things, and John Adams would talk about this too, I'm sure, is that we make things where we're punished because of the actions of like a very minority of really dumb people.
You mean like fireworks?
Well, a lot of stuff, like one of the examples would be lawn jarts where everybody had them. And hell, I got to admit, we threw them at each other because we were kids. What are you going to do?
Oh, God. Now, for those that don't know what jarts are,
you can look them up.
you can look them up.
I'll put a picture when this comes out. I'll put a picture on the site.
They still have them, but they're plastic now. But back in the 80s, I think up until maybe even the 90s, maybe they were very heavy, and it was a metal spike on a plastic dart.
And what you would do is you would take
it
a
into
hoop, you throw the hoop out, and you try to get them in the hoop.
Yeah.
And the story goes what
Many
happens...
people, probably some people were injured.
Well, what happened, in the story I heard, it was one guy, and his son got a hold of him, and he got hurt.
Yeah.
And it's tragic, but it happens, and it's life, and you have to realize, like Jesse the Body Ventura said, you can't outlaw stupidity.
Right, but at the same time, it may not have been a good idea to sell those to kids.
Well, it was the dad there. He didn't watch him.
Yeah.
And he didn't put him in a secure place. So he sort of led to the ban. But I guess the one I'm thinking of now, and I don't know if they're banned or not, what we used to do all the time were model rockets. And we had a guy up the street. Now, these were... And these in the day, we had a guy up the street named Freddie. And these days, I could guarantee if I mentioned this guy, this is the guy who liked to hang around kids. And he used to be big into model rockets, and he didn't have any kids of his own, so we would make rockets. And he wasn't a weirdo.
Yeah.
See, if I say it, immediately I say if there's a guy who's not married, doesn't have kids, but he used to help, and we would build model rockets and shoot them off all the time. I do not see these things
I
anywhere.
haven't seen a model rocket in years. I remember I used to do it when you get the little engine with the little cardboard thing and you had to connect it. Yeah.
Or the scarier one, the dreaded cannon you can make. And this was
before me.
It was a cannon, and what you would do is somehow you get lighter fluid, you get a tennis ball, and you end up shooting it. But see, nobody cared like those days.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know. And everybody said, "Oh, it was much safer back then." I don't think it was.
No, we had.
I think the same amount of danger for kids, especially, existed. It's just we didn't know about it because there was no internet.
We wiped out. I mean, we used to know about strangers, and the thing was, we had a couple weirdos around, but we knew enough. Like, I remember there was a weird guy by the Convenient. It's still there, that Convenient we used to hang out at.
Yeah.
Used to go get wacky packs, whatever. But there was like this one guy, and he's like, "Son, you want to come to the car? Give me some." And you were smart enough to know not to go bound these characters.
That's the thing. If common sense is the only thing that's really changed. It's disappearing.
Yeah.
You remember that old picture? It's some generic superhero. It's just common sense so rare it should be a superpower.
Well, I think it goes like this. Okay, some kid, something happens, like some stranger gets some, or they have a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, it's horrible. It's terrible. It's not a thing we ever want to happen. But the fact is, it's rare.
That's the thing. It's rare. It's not as common as people think.
And missing children, it's a horrible thing. But one of the things, most of them, it's because of a settlement, like in a divorce. Some parent might take them. Yeah. Or they count, like, say he sleeps over a friend's house. Yeah. They count that as missing. He's been in his home for 24 hours.
All right, well, to shift gears, did you ever actually see a milk carton with a kid's picture on it?
No, I don't think I have.
I was going to say, were those real, or was that just in movies?
I think they were real, though. No, okay. I think they were real.
Because I never saw. You always see it in like movies.
But what was like one of yours to get back to? Is always we go from serious to funny to serious.
Oh yeah, what the hell did we start on? Oh yeah,
wrestling. But, well, reading the line here is huge too because once you want to go in here,
Yeah,
I want to go in there again. But what did you used to do back in the day there, the old days there, when you were during the summer, besides hope school never started again?
Fireflies.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're starting to come up here a little more, but that's one thing I noticed when I moved from Pittsburgh to Western New York, especially around Rochester, is that there weren't a lot of fireflies.
They come in terms of there's a couple weeks if you can catch them. Yeah. Literally, like, I would walk the dog by Unity Hospital, and some years you get the right time of night. It literally looks like Christmas lights. There's so many of them.
Well, yeah, that's how it was. You would look out in the yard, and it just looked like a Pink Floyd laser show. We would go out and, catch them in mayonnaise jars.
Yeah.
And, we were, a day or so later, they'd be dead. And like, oh, crap, we forgot to put air holes in it. So we'd empty it out, put air holes in it, go out and catch them again. And then
I went in my little terrariums. I go catch stuff out in the field. I remember getting a praying mantis.
Yeah, but then a day later, they'd be dead again. Like, what's going on? We didn't realize at the time, when they flash, they're on their death throes because they're just a one last ditch effort to try to find a mate.
Or did you know that that comes out of their rear ends too?
Oh yeah, because we looked at them.
Yeah, they come out of their rear ends.
So yeah, because we were looking at them. We would catch them, and they're very. They weren't like skittish bugs, like you could hold them in your hand and they'd walk around. So we would be able to look at them.
I always said that sort of like growing up. I remember. Because for me, it was like the irony of when football would be starting, and I was big into football, but it would be meaning that, well, great, fall's coming, but then school's coming back. And I remember tracing, like, when you're getting older, how time goes by the time when it was summer, and when you were kids, summer seemed like it lasted forever. Then all of a sudden, by senior year of grade school, all of a sudden you're counting the weeks, and all of a sudden you have to get school supplies.
School supplies, and for us, it was football training camp.
Which made us want to go back to school full time, pretty much. And ours wasn't as weird. Yeah, yours.
All right, let's do that because
no, his is a lot worse than mine.
Western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh to be specific. For training camp, it was 2 weeks of what they called 3-a-days. So it's 3 practices a day. I get to college, it's 2. I was like, what the hell?
Joke for that stuff.
But no, it was literally, if I can remember the exact times of the schedule, I think the first practice was 8:30 to 11. And then we would, it's a.m., by the way, 8:30 to 11. Then we would get lunch, and we would they would have a place, because we never left school until the end of the day. We would go sleep somewhere. Sometimes we would sleep in the wrestling room because they had the mats. Sometimes we just slept in the classrooms. We'd move the desk out because it was kind of air-conditioned. Then you had the 2 to 4:30 practice, or the 2 to 4 special teams practice, which really wasn't a practice, in the middle. And then, dinner, nap, and then it was 6 to 8.
Could you challenge for a position, too?
Oh, yeah.
We did
those.
They did. Those were fun. The bull in the ring?
Bull in the ring, Oklahoma drills.
Oh,
a bull in the ring. I hated bull in the ring.
Did you ever barf during practice?
Oh, yes.
I did the one. This is, thank you, a friend of mine who was sort of affiliated with Gothic Toad that put mayonnaise on French fries.
Bauman.
No, it wasn't him. Yes, it's actually somebody who was like an auxiliary, not really part of it.
I'm still blaming Bauman. Hi, Bauman. Love you.
But he'll be back.
Yeah, he
morning. But he put mayonnaise on my French fries during lunch, and I had these.
Well, at least
and then afterwards, we did the shuttle runs, which the shuttle run is you get up by position, and Coach Heck would forget the time, and I remember like trying to hold it in.
No, wait a minute. Now, okay, since you brought up Coach Heck, and you and I have talked about it before, why was he such a hard coach? Where was he from?
Pittsburgh.
There you go.
And I wish him well still, because I always heard that he went off to do some job in business. That's everybody's football's loss, because I thought he was great. But he would talk about his 3-a-days, and he'd say if we thought we had it hard. And he never had us do the sled, though.
Oh, God,
and
really?
The reason why, I'll tell you why, because in terms of our equipment, he took one look at the sled we had, and he said, you ain't doing this.
Oh, we did the sled all the time. We had a 2-man sled, and I think we had a big 7-man.
But ours stunk. I mean, it was like...
Well, yeah, ours stunk because it's pads, and we're not going to wash it.
But it was busted and everything, too. That's what I mean. That's why he just took a look at it and said, the heck with that.
But the sled wasn't so much a training device as it was a punishment device. Yeah. So they would put 3 people on the 7-man sled. The coach would stand on the back.
Yeah.
But, and then I got to hear, and then recently, my old high school, I think 2 years ago, a kid from that high school who went to the University of Pittsburgh was drafted into the NFL. Offensive lineman. The offensive line coach at the time was a guy I graduated with and played alongside. So, Coach John Ulrich. If he listens to it, he probably doesn't.
No.
But I was talking to him because when I saw this, I reached out to him to congratulate him. You know, that's a big thing. You know, one of your guys that you helped develop is now in the NFL. So I reached out and congratulated him, and I said, you know, how's 3-a-days going? He's like, oh, dude, they don't do 3-a-days anymore. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man, nobody's allowed to do 3-a-days anymore.
I would even say now, like, if they had any coach like Vince Lombardi, that the guy'd probably get reported.
Oh, all the old coaches, your Tom Landry's,
just
your
not
Vince
your Bud
Lombardis.
Grants, because he was actually kind of a different.
Yeah.
But Chuck Noll.
Yeah, all the great coaches would not have been allowed to exist.
Yeah.
But Jesus God, I just and as we wrap it up here, because I can see the register.
Yes, I want that bag.
The gassers.
Yeah. Oh, horrible.
Now, for people that don't or maybe know it under a different name, it was you would stand on the sideline of the football field, and you would have to run across and run back, run across and run back. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the field is 53 yards wide.
Yeah.
Or somewhere around there. It's a little over half of the length of the official field. The goal line to goal line, not end line to end line. But we would do, oh God, so many of them. And then if the coach was really angry, he'd make us keep the helmets on and buckle the chin straps.
Yeah.
But if we were okay, you'd say, helmets off, shoulder pads off, and do it.
We never did that. He always had them on. Anyway,
every now and then. But then he would start timing it by position. And then if he was really pissed off at us, he'd make the linemen run with the receivers and get their time.
Oh.
But
is that a dandelion there?
Oh God, I still can't believe I said that dandelion. Well, then, to be fair, I've said some bad puns. But yeah, it's weird. Another summer come and gone, and
yeah,
it seems like the blink of an eye, isn't it?
Yep.
Who knew?
Who knew? It's been an interesting year, I could say that. So.
Well, that's putting it mildly, I think. Anything else you got?
Yes, actually, I know what I'm going to do a little bit at the end. It sort of fits in with us, I suppose, because we're weird.
Yep.
And my friend Leo, she plays the pipa, and this is an ancient Chinese instrument. And best way to describe it is if you go back to the Star Trek episode where Spock jams with the space hippies.
Oh,
that's
God.
what it looks like, but that's what it looks like a little. It's a very ancient instrument, and she'll be on sometime, hopefully. But I was going to play a song, and I was going to do King of the Carrot Flowers, but it's got 3 parts. So I don't know how long it is. So I was good. So we'll play this is for you, and when you're on, you could play King of the Carrot Flowers, or maybe play that Pipa live. But we'll play the Pipa Concerto. This is ancient music, actually. She did one album of new songs, and this is actually a couple of these are actually old melodies.
I'm looking at the picture. It kind of almost looks like a lute type thing.
Yeah, you can take a picture of it and put it up there if you want.
It almost looks like a lute, but without that bent down part. See, we know things about.
So this is going to be Dandy going in here.
I get fault.
Hey, I could have topped that one.
Yeah, well, it hurt me a little bit inside and out. But should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. So for whatever the hell this was, go out and enjoy what's remaining of your summer, or if I air this later, happy winter, because we all know how Rochester is.
Yep.
So until the next time, I'm Zach.
I'm Rob, usually.
And we will see you on the flip side. Bye-bye, everybody.